Hi, Christy. Let me know when you can hear me. There you are. How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good. I like your glasses. They're
Thank you.
cute. You look good. How have you
Yay.
been? How was your holiday?
It was quiet, so it wasn't
Oh,
bad. It was just quieter than normal.
yeah, mine was quieter than normal too this year. Um, we have the puppy, so we were like, we're gonna stay home. We did see some close friends, and we did see one family member, and we did like lots of phone calls with people.
Oh,
But yeah,
it's
with the pup,
nice.
we were like, we're not gonna inflict him upon anyone yet. He's only four
Poor
months, and
baby.
yeah, so
That's
we
so
were like,
funny.
we'll stay home. Fortunately, we've seen relatives other times of the year, so we were like, we'll just have a more mellow holiday. It was kind of nice.
That is
So
nice.
yeah. It's been a little bit since I saw you. So
Yeah.
what would you say would be the most helpful thing for today? Just kind of where are you at with everything coming in?
So the last month or so, I think I told you last time I saw you, my brother had that transplant, which went
Yeah,
well.
that's
On his way
good.
out of the rehab, he had a massive stroke. So like the last couple, he's
No.
okay-ish. Like he's okay. He can move, he can think, he can talk, not great. Like his face is still really droopy and he's
Oh,
frustrated. So
yeah.
that kind of took up a lot of time.
I
Uh,
bet.
so I
Wow.
haven't really like pushed myself to do anything outside of
Yeah.
getting through each day.
Right.
Um,
Absolutely. I mean,
but
yeah, when you've got that much like going on, like sometimes I'll feel like, okay, like I need a distraction, so I'll go work on stuff, but sometimes it's just your emotional energy is so wrapped up in just getting through life and other
yeah,
things have to take the priority. So I
yes.
totally get that. One of my other
So
students, she had a hip replacement and was like, "Yeah, I've done nothing." And I was like,
yeah,
"I get it, girlfriend.
fair.
Like you take care of yourself." So, yeah, so I mean
Fair.
things like that, like this weekend I was like, yeah, I can't do anything Saturday, Sunday because I was helping a relative move and I was like, yeah, I can't do anything else. Like
Yeah,
no squeezing in sessions or meetings or recording. I was like, nope, that's all I'm doing.
just yeah. Sometimes it's just being there and doing what you have
hmm
to do every day is
Yeah.
enough to deal with.
And it's plenty. Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
I'm really glad to hear that the transplant went well because I know those can, it's really easy for them to not go well or to have the body
Yes.
rejected or whatnot. And, recovery can be really tough. So I'm glad that that went well. But I'm so sorry to hear about the stroke because
Thank
I've
you.
had like experience with friends going through one in particular going through a stroke and I mean it's really really rough and so I'm really sorry to hear that because that just sucks and
It does suck.
it's exhausting and I know that it's very frustrating for them but it's also really hard for any like family or
Yeah.
therapists and people working with them because it takes a lot of patience
Yes.
so
Well,
um
and we didn't know how much like certain aspects of the stroke can mirror like dementia. So
oh
like I
yeah.
didn't know that people with strokes had like sundowning syndrome.
Yeah.
So they tried to move him out of the hospital during the evening, and they said that that was just too much for his brain to handle because he was
Yeah.
really confused. And then
Oh,
I mean, it's funny to me after the fact because I know everything's okay, but he tried to get
yeah.
in a fight with the nurse.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
like it's good to
That's
know that
hard.
some of those things
Are
weird.
pretty, yeah, normal,
Yeah.
like normal, but not fun. Yeah, my
No.
friend Lido ended up having to like move home and take care of his dad for a while after a stroke because his mom just
Hmm.
like could not handle
Yeah.
it on her own. And so I was like,
Aw.
"Oh, how you have you been?" and whatnot. And he was like, "Well, I'm at home taking care of my dad. He's like 40." And he was like, "Well, back home."
Aw.
Like he just was like, his siblings have kids and families and stuff. And he was like, "Well, it was the easiest for me to do." So, but
Wow.
I
That's
know it
a
was
that's
really
a
tough.
really
Like,
nice thing.
Yeah, and his dad had like triggers too, like things that would
Yeah.
trigger it. And so like, his dad would want to watch a Western, but then it would get him agitated. And then he'd
Oh,
like get in like a fight with his dad and have to like hold him and be like, okay, calm down.
oh my gosh.
Because his dad would get all riled up. Yeah. And he was like, it's really weird because he was just like, my dad's such a gentle person. And so seeing him
It,
like
it
a
messes
baby
your
in
brain
some
up.
ways,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
but then like, yeah, like he just needed help and he like couldn't do things and he'd get frustrated. And yeah.
And especially when you have people who are so used to being on their own, they don't want you to help them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think too it was weird because like he was like it's my dad. Like he took care
Right.
of me and now I'm having to take care of him. It's kind of like it was a weird shift in roles
Yeah.
too. So that was kind of tr tough to navigate. And as a sibling too, like I feel like my siblings are my friends too. Like I feel like it would just be kind of like I don't know, like a younger sibling. I feel like if my older sister or something had something like that where she just really needed taking care of, it's like a weird shift because like she's always been helping the
Yeah.
younger siblings. So when she had her baby, she had like a lot of really serious health issues and it was
Aw.
just so strange. And like obviously I was like, I will help you. Like I'm here for you, like, because the baby was great, but she was not okay. And so like she couldn't like bathe by herself. She couldn't even
Aw.
like stand up by herself for a while. And she had like a small stroke during her pregnancy and stuff. So
Oh,
it was
wow.
tough. It was a rough pregnancy. But yeah,
Yeah.
she like it's just really I feel like strange to have the roles where you're like, oh, I'm like taking care of you and I see you as this capable, like grown,
Right.
powerful woman and to see you be like in bed, like and having heart problems and things like it's really scary.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really sorry that you are going through all
Oh,
that because
thank you.
it's really tough. So
It is. It is. It's weird.
yeah.
It's
Yeah, weird. Yeah, but also just like probably kind of heartbreaking, I would think too. So
yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
It's a
I'm
lot. It's a
sorry.
lot of emotions. So,
Yeah.
but every time they're
Well,
like, "No, he's okay." I'm like, "Okay,
oh,
thank you."
they're like reassuring. They're like, no, he's actually doing
Yeah.
really good.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Like,
And it is
okay, that's
I know it's
fine.
a process recovering, like I had a really bad accident several years ago now. But for like it took me probably a full 2 years to recover from that.
Yeah.
And like I had weird vocal issues, like
Oh,
where
wow.
basically like I had nerve damage and I couldn't send messages to my voice correctly. Like I knew what to
Oh,
do, but like my voice would like shake and wobble and crack and stuff. And I had to go to voice therapy because of the nerve damage. And then like I had to hurt my lungs, so, like I didn't have the air and was like gaspy and
aw.
just like and I was so frustrated. And it took me like a full 2 years because I had torn a ligament here and like all these different things. And it's I mean, like if I describe it, I'm like, it's really not that bad compared to what some people go through in an accident, but it took me a full 2 years to get back to like normal. Um,
Wow.
yeah, and I would say I still like am not like as strong as I was before that because I was like regularly exercising and like very fit before that and stuff. And I've been like a little more conscientious about like listening to my body since that. Like I feel like prior to that, I was just like, I
Hmm.
can do it. And now I have things that are like, injury healing spots. And I'm like, oh, it gets sore faster than it used to and stuff. So it's
Right?
just like it's a process. Healing is a process, and our bodies are amazing. But it's
They
like they'll be
are.
like, oh, you're doing great. And you're like, I don't feel great. But thank you. Yeah,
Thanks.
so yeah, I'm really sorry because I mean, it's just hard.
Yeah.
Anybody you love going through health stuff is hard. So yeah, I'm really sorry about that. And I know too, you've had a lot of like shifts and changes happening in life anyway, with like
I
going back
know.
to massage therapy and like you do your travel agent stuff. And, like I
Right?
feel like you've had so many changes in life and you like have been trying to get your voice acting career going. And it's like you have these roadblocks and you're like, okay, I
I
gotta
know.
deal with this
Uh,
first. So, oh. But I mean, I've seen you consistently doing the work, and I totally get if you're like, hey, like I need more gaps between, or I need to work on projects more slowly right now. That's perfectly okay.
Yeah.
And just kind of going at your own pace with it. That's one of the great things about voiceover is you can put as much or as little time into it as you want, and you
Hmm.
can just kind of decide how much to invest in it at different times. And in different seasons, I'll do more or less of it. So, like right
Yeah.
now, I'm doing quite a lot of it. But then, like this summer when I got married, I was like, yeah, I can't be doing this right now. Like, I got to take a gap because it was just too much to juggle. Um, so yeah, I think we have to go through those seasons and go, how much can I handle right now? So
Yeah.
I think it's perfectly fine that you're like, hey, it's the holidays. My brother's going through some health stuff, and
Right.
I've been dealing with that. And I mean, to be like, I only have the energy and time that I have. So,
Right.
but we're here
Yes.
today, and hopefully this will be
Yay.
a fun, like,
Yeah.
distraction from all that, and you can,
I
focus
know.
on
I've
something
missed it.
else and have, yeah, like it's fun too. I feel like having an outlet, like one of my students, she's just very like, I don't even care if I make money from this. She just really enjoys it. And so
It's
like
fun.
I haven't pushed her at all to do auditions or anything because Shamara's just like, I just want to do it. Like she just thinks it's fun to be creative and like learn to communicate better and like do different voices and empathetically understand characters and um
Yeah.
yeah, and so like I think it's just like a self-care thing for her that we meet and we work on creating voices together, or like making cool commercial, jingles
Yes.
and, doing all of it. Like she just really enjoys it. So I think it can be like a self-care thing too, that it's that expressing and tapping into emotion and storytelling and like putting yourself in the character's shoes and those kind of things. I find it can be really nice. And then also just like distracting yourself from life and being like,
Right.
I'm gonna immerse myself in this other world for a while.
It's awesome. That's why we read books and watch TV.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm gonna read books anyway, so I might as well get paid for
Right.
it.
Exactly.
So yeah, I've lately been because I have a lot of projects on my plate, and I recently finished a couple that were like not my favorite. Like
Yeah.
they just were jobs. And so I've been trying to really like prioritize auditioning for things that I'm like, I would just enjoy reading this.
Right.
So that I can just like read something fun. So yeah,
That's
I had
perfect.
like some really big projects that were kind of a bear to deal with and were not like super fun.
Oh, well, that's not
So
great.
they were just like very academic, and every like few
Oh,
words I had to
yeah.
look up a word and
Oh my
long.
gosh, that's
So
frustrating. Yes.
yeah, so
Yeah.
I was like, I just want to read something fun. So I've been doing like children's books and like YA novels that are like adventure and stuff. So
Oh, that's fun. That is
yeah,
fun.
right, exactly. I was like, I need to get back to the fun side of it.
Yes.
So yeah, like I think today, just since you have a lot of heavy stuff going on, and I feel like the holidays when you're older are not as fun anyway. Like
Yeah.
I had two relatives pass away last year, and so like this year I was like, oh, they're like not with us anymore, and that's sad. Um, or even just like being a grown up and being like, oh, I'm not like we always went to my aunt's for Christmas Day, like in the
Yeah.
afternoon, and we'd like play hockey on the ice. And like she passed away last Christmas, like
Aw.
at Christmas time. And so like that's sad to be like that's a tradition and like we can't do that
And now
anymore.
you can't do it. It is. It's
Yeah,
hard.
I feel like as a grown up, Christmas just like gets less fun. So
It
finding
does.
finding ways that you can have fun and like find joy in things, especially around the holidays, because I
Yeah.
find them to be a little more like sad and bittersweet now. Um,
Yes.
so yeah, I think that's good to be like, I
Yeah.
just really enjoy this and I want to dive in. So I know you've got your Australia characters book.
Yes.
Um, like you've got a few things that you've been working on. You were doing like the LibriVox process,
Yes. Which
process,
I
like different.
finished that.
Okay, good. Awesome.
So
So you
that's
got that
done.
done. Good.
The
And did
book
you
I've
enjoy that? You were doing like
I did.
characters and things, right? Like I
Yeah.
know you were
Yeah.
doing like plays kind of like
Yeah,
into,
so
yeah.
one of them I actually backed out of
Okay.
because I just like I couldn't find the character in
Yeah.
the writing was so old that it
Oh,
didn't make sense to me, and I was like,
yeah. Like
okay.
Shakespeare or something, and it's like, what does this
Yeah.
mean?
And I was like, I don't usually I can understand stuff like that, but this time
Right.
I don't know if I just wasn't in the right mindset or it wasn't
That
interesting
could be,
or
yeah.
I was like, it's for free and I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but you're gonna find somebody else to do it.
Right.
So let me
Hmm.
just take that off my plate.
Politely, yeah, decline.
Yeah,
And that
the
can
the
happen like where you think it'll be a good fit and then you get into it and you're like,
yeah.
"Oh, what did I do?"
Yeah,
Like accepting a project that you think will be fine and then you're like, "Oh, this is not written very well," or yeah, then it can just be challenging and I think too like I'll pick up books for fun to read and I'll think that it's going to be great and then I'm just like not in the mindset for it. So I totally
right.
get that like when you're volunteering being like, I'm just not in the place and it's too much work and I just can't, you know. And like you
Yeah,
said, they will find other people to do the project. So
yes.
it's gonna be
So yeah,
okay.
it's okay. I'm fine.
It just
They'll be
wasn't a good
fine.
fit. It's okay.
No, that one was not. The first one I did, I really liked, and it
Oh,
was,
good.
short and understandable, and it didn't take a
Yeah.
ton of time. Um, my brother has started doing a podcast,
Oh,
and so he's been
fun.
telling me about he's like, it takes way longer to edit than I thought it would. And I was like, yeah, things take way longer to edit than anybody thought they would.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
So
a whole big process.
I was
I
like,
think
you
it's
can
the least
record
fun.
something in 5 minutes, but it'll take you three times that long to edit it
Edit
and
it
make
all.
sure
Yeah.
it's, yeah.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, my favorite jobs are when they're like, just read it and then we'll edit it. I'm like, thank
yes,
you.
yes.
I'm
But I
like,
have a friend
great.
who's in film class, so I told him, I was
Oh,
like, hey,
cool.
so we're probably gonna do a little collaboration on one of his projects,
Great.
which will be fun. Uh,
Yes.
because he's young and he's 23, I think. So he's like
Okay.
super excited about it and um gung ho and all that stuff. So I was like, well, that'll be fun. I enjoy
Yes.
that. I was like, just
Oh,
don't
that's
forget me when you
awesome.
get famous.
Love it. That's
Yes.
great. So
So,
it sounds like you've got some fun, you know, opportunities in the works. I'm curious what
yes.
kind of podcast it is.
So my brother right now is doing a business podcast because he's
Okay.
trying to grow his business. He does
Yeah, that makes sense.
marketing and customer retention. It's a lot of boring stuff that you need to keep your business running.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, it's stuff every business owner, I mean, literally everyone is selling something in any
right.
field. So it's stuff that's just really good for people to know and grow in
Yes.
those areas. And yeah,
Yeah.
if he
So
does a podcast, he'll be seen as more of like an expert in that area. And yeah, that's great.
and he's been like interviewing other people that he knows who work for businesses that are just stuff like one of our friends is working with a company where they're helping people file claims against Visa and MasterCard. There's this huge like class
Oh,
action lawsuit.
okay.
Uh, so if you or anybody you know used Visa or MasterCard in the last like 20 years,
What?
they
Which
yeah,
is
right
everyone.
are accepted payments. You have to have been like
Ah, got
the
it.
shop owner who
Been paid
accepted
by it.
payment.
Yeah.
They were skimming off the top. Like they're supposed to take 4%, but they were actively taking like 4.5 and keeping
Oh,
that extra half of a percent.
rude.
So yeah, for like
Hoping no one
15
would
years.
notice.
Right, right.
But I'm like, you
So
can just put in the contract that you're taking that much.
exactly. But no, that's too much. It's too easy. So,
Wow.
stuff like that. But he and I talked about doing um I had this idea called the Grievance Club, and it's just for people who are upset, and can't tell people why they're upset because it's kind of rude. Like you're mad about weird things, right? Like for me, it mostly came to fruition because my mother-in-law would come in my house and do my laundry and ruin things.
Yeah.
And, I could tell her, like, hey, please don't do that particular thing because you ruined it. But
Hmm.
also she's coming to my house and taking care of my kids and doing like my towels and
She's
stuff like
trying to be
that. And
helpful. Yeah.
right. So it's that weird, like, oh my gosh, every time I come home and I have to redo everything you did, but you're also trying to really be nice. I'm
And it's
not going
someone
to
who's
be
going to
mean.
be in your life.
Right. But now I'm just really annoyed that I have to redo everything. So let me
And that
yell
like
about it
things
to
maybe you
somebody.
care about are destroyed now. And yeah,
Right. She
I've
did
had that
also
same issue
use
with my
that.
mom.
I'm sorry. She also
Being like,
used
please
it to
don't do my laundry.
go through my room to find, like, to look through. Oh, I was just looking for laundry. Like, okay, right. My laundry's not on my desk.
You're
Sorry.
being nosy.
She's being, I call it clean snooping. Um,
Ah,
so things like
yeah.
that. And it's
That's
just
kind of
like,
funny.
it is like
Clean
I made like a
snooping.
little 800 number that people can call,
I
and you
love
just
it.
yell and do whatever. Like,
Vent.
I don't care. At some point, if it got to be something that people actually did on a regular basis, like maybe we'd play it on TikTok or whatever.
Yeah,
But I was like, let's do a grievance podcast
I love it.
just
Well, you
about
could
things
even
that
have
are
people
angry.
like, um, you could even have people like tweet back to you or whatever. I don't know. I don't do
Oh yeah, yeah.
Twitter, X or whatever, but you could like have people just like text in things even, and then you could
Mhm.
read them out loud, kind of like celebrities will read like mean tweets or
Oh
like
yeah.
Jimmy Kimmel will just read funny things, you know? You could be like, send me your grievances, and then you could read it for them, and then they don't
That's a
have to
great
worry about
idea.
their voice being recognized.
That's perfect.
Then you
Wow,
could
I'm
just
glad we
read
had this
it.
class. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Well, and then you'd be
Great idea.
using your voice acting
My voice.
skills.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be
Yep.
kind of fun. Yeah. I
So
feel like
we might
mine
do
would
that.
be like, I don't know, things like, why does everyone in Indiana honk all the time for no reason? Like, there's nothing, like, to me, I only honk if there's something dangerous that's like, alert.
Right.
And they honk all the time. And it's like,
Really?
why? They're like, oh, hey, you can go at the roundabout, toot their horn. And you're like, what? What's wrong? And then it takes me longer to go because I'm like, oh my gosh, what's
Right.
happening?
Americans don't understand roundabouts very well.
It's
I feel like
true. And we have a lot of them
they
here.
do. They just started putting them in where we live, and it's
Uh,
chaos. They also made them really small because they put one like by Walmart, and Walmart didn't want to lose their turn lane, so they paid the county a bunch of money to not lose that part. So instead of it being a
oh.
normal size roundabout, they made it much smaller, but it's also in an area where there's like a lot of horse trailers. So they made the curb really small so that the horse trailers can just go up over the curb. It makes no sense.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
It's a lot. They're
So
not the
that would be a
brightest.
grievance you could share.
Exactly. Exactly.
Why
I
can't
did
people
tell them,
figure
I was
out how
like,
to use a roundabout?
oh, I know. I was like,
Also,
maybe our first
why
sign
is
should be
Walmart
like
so selfish?
holiday traffic.
Holiday traffic.
Yes. I was like,
Stay
everybody's
home.
all peace on earth and goodwill to
Yeah.
men until you get in your car and it's the last parking spot.
Yeah, I just stay home as much as possible.
Yes.
I had the nicest Amazon delivery lady the other day. I had like just taken the dogs out to go potty and I was like, "I'm so sorry." And she was like, "I love dogs. I've got dogs myself." And she was so sweet. I was just like, "Thank you for being so nice." Because like I expect her to be like exhausted and frazzled with the holidays and she was so nice. I was like, "Man, I just want to like
That's
leave cookies
awesome.
for you." So yeah,
Uh,
I get it though. The holidays can be whew, something. So
yes.
we just were like, we're not doing any of that. We're just staying home with the pups. So
Yeah. That sounds
so
about
that's
right.
great. So you've got the
Yeah.
podcast. I love the idea. I think people would really enjoy it. And I think it would be funny because other people are going to be like, oh, I relate to that. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody can relate to like having in-laws with like
That,
issues with that or like
yeah.
roundabouts. I feel like everybody has something to say about like
A
traffic issues
roundabout.
and
Oh my
stuff.
gosh. Yes.
Um, or like holiday traffic or like the last parking spot or I mean, I just make a parking spot if I have to. So
Yes. Yeah. Well, we had to go. I had to take Wes to the doctor, and it was we went to the Minute Clinic,
oh
but
yeah.
they had all of the parking spots all of the handicap spots were taken, and one was by a person they just left their car running in the handicap spot and ran inside um for who knows how long because it was still there for like they must have been there for like 15 minutes. And I was like, cool. So I just stopped in the middle of the road. I was like, I'm not gonna go try and be convenient for you guys. People can turn around. I have a person in a wheelchair that needs to be let
Mhm.
out.
Yeah.
So you guys can wait on me.
Yeah. Oh my
But yeah.
gosh. And it's like people are parked there that like are
Yeah.
illegally parked there. And you're like, yeah,
Oh
I
yeah.
actually need the spot. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. There are people
Yeah.
that make like little business card size things that you can put under people's wipers, like stop being a
Yeah.
parking a-hole or
Ah!
whatever. Oh, I like that.
You're like, maybe I should get that. Yeah.
Or like you parked like a bitch, you know.
My
Like
husband told me there's this guy who posts these things. He takes like magnetic bumper stickers that say like rude things. And if people do like jerky things in the parking lot, he'll like just walk by and like put the magnet
that's
bumper
that's
sticker
brilliant.
with just like funny things like, I got a lobotomy at Claire's. Boom. And it's not illegal because it's like a practical joke because you're not damaging it. It's just like a fun.
Right.
Yeah.
That is brilliant. I might have to think about that.
Just like buy some in bulk, you know? Just
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's like,
yeah.
you're a jerk. You're a
And
jerk.
it makes you feel better.
It
Yeah.
does.
I
Yep,
like
absolutely.
never retaliate ever. But then
Yeah.
I get more upset when people are mean to other people. Someone was like really mean to my husband, and my husband, I literally had for years, like I've known him for since 2019. I have only ever heard him say negative things about one person ever. And he
Oh,
literally,
wow.
like, in 5 seconds called her like a demon and like a monster and evil. And I was like, what did this person do? And I was so upset because I was just like, he is so kind and like so understanding and so patient and compassionate. And I was just like, and he was like traumatized, like
Oh, my
paralyzed,
word.
like from like having experienced being around this person. And I was just like, who did this? And like, he only told me her first name. I did all this research, figured out who she was. I sent her a glitter bomb.
Good
I felt
for
better.
you.
And I told him, he was like, I'm so anxious now. He was like, I wish you didn't tell me. He was like, I really wish you didn't do it. And I was like, it's anonymous. It's fine. And he was just like,
Oh, well,
he was like so nervous and like anxious. He was like, why did you tell me? And I was like, well, I feel better. I was like, hey, if people are mean to you, then it upsets me. And I was like,
yeah,
besides, it's a prank. It's like not a big deal.
right. Duh.
It's just like it pops out glitter. It is annoying.
And it's stuck on your hair for like 3 years, but whatever.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So
Not
I
gonna
was like,
hurt
I mean,
anybody.
I felt better.
That's what matters.
That's like the only time I've ever. No, that's not true. At summer camp, a girl was really mean, so I collected candy wrappers, and while she was asleep, I put candy wrappers in her bed, so she woke up with candy wrappers everywhere,
That's funny.
which I thought was funny, but I got in big trouble. But she was
Uh,
mean to everyone all week long, and it was the
yeah.
last night, and I was like, "Give me all your
What are
candy
they gonna
wrappers,
do?
everyone." So
Yeah.
she just woke up and was like, "What is this?" I was like, "That's not a big deal. You just have to throw it away." It's not like
Right?
I ruined anything or did anything like terrible. But yeah, those
It's
are my
not
like
like
two mean things I've done in life. But it's because people were mean to people I cared about. I got upset.
yes, it's fair. It's fair.
All right, so we're working on the podcast. We are also going to we've got like a couple books to work on. I know you can take time with both of those, I
Yeah.
think. So that's good. Like you've got plenty of time. So I would just recommend just like work on them in small chunks whenever you have time and just kind of like, be like, I'm just gonna do like 30 minutes this week, just whatever you
Yeah.
can do and fit it in. Um, the podcast, I think, sounds great. And I think it's a good way to get your voice out there. Um, with the grievances, if you end up reading them, you can like
Yeah.
have the different emotions, like be very expressive in storytelling with that. So I think that'll be a really great opportunity. And I wouldn't challenge yourself to like pressure yourself to do like a ton of them all the time, but maybe
Right.
start with like, I'm going to do one a month, and then you're going to do like, one every other week, and then you're going to do one every week, like as you get more and more comfortable with it and more people doing it. Um, yeah, I feel like, and even if they're like short ones, or even if you get people to like come on and tell their funny stories of complaints.
right?
I could go on and be like, let me tell you about when I sent someone a glitter bomb.
Yeah, right. Well, we better not do that. We'll have to disguise you so
Yeah.
she doesn't
I
know.
literally like have never met this person. So
Really? That's so funny.
I was like, why would she even like, because my husband was like, she's gonna figure it out. And I was like, it's anonymous, and no, she won't.
Yeah.
She doesn't know me. There's no reason for her to suspect me. She doesn't know me. Okay.
Yeah. That's
And I was
so
like,
funny.
besides the way you described her, I think she's mean to everyone. So it could be literally anyone she encounters.
Oh my gosh, that's terrible.
So I was like, literally, it could be like any of the people that she's mean to. So
Poor.
I was
Oh
like,
my
I'd
gosh.
be surprised if she hasn't gotten a glitter bomb before.
Right?
I mean, if you're mean to people, eventually someone's gonna clap back.
Exactly. I mean, now they have, one of my friends sent you can buy these like little bag, well, it's a bag of penis gummies and it just has a card attached that says eat a bag of dicks.
That's
I was like, you
funny
know what?
and also
That's good.
delicious.
Exactly. I was like, that's a good one. Or
I saw
they
they
have
make
the
these
old
cards
fashioned.
that just
Yeah.
like never stop playing music
Oh, yes.
until
That's
the battery
horrible.
dies. And then if you rip them in half, glitter falls out. Like if you try to
Oh,
break it.
that's very clever.
I was like, that's pretty fun. I actually wouldn't mind that. Like, I love music and I'd probably just be jamming to it. I'd be like,
Yeah,
I can
right.
listen to I Will Survive over and over again for 2 hours
Right.
straight.
The song that never ends.
I'm like, just take it outside, put it in the dumpster. Not a big deal.
Exactly.
Yeah. You
No.
can send people like elephant poop. Like, there's so many
Ew,
funny things you can do.
that's funny. Now I'm gonna
I
have to
haven't
look
done
into
them,
that.
but I was like looking to see what you could do when I did the glitter bomb.
Yes.
And I also looked up if it was illegal, and it is not. It's just like a joke. So I was
Well,
like,
good for you.
I figured the glitter bomb is a lot nicer than sending them a gallon of elephant poo, you know?
Yes, I agree. I agree. When I was younger, they used to have like in craft stores, they would sell like little sleeping cats made out of cow poop. They were like cow pie
What?
friends or whatever, but people bought it because they thought it was funny.
That
And
is
it
kind of
wasn't a
funny.
gag. It was just, something to buy. And I was like, I live next to a cow field. I don't want to touch cow poop.
But you could.
I could have.
That's funny.
Yes.
In my old neighborhood, there was somebody had a like really big dog and didn't clean up after it, and it would like leave big old poop. So, like,
Yeah.
as a funny thing, I don't know who it was, but somebody started leaving money in the poo. And I think to see if someone would like clean it up. And at first it was like a quarter, and then it was like $1, and then it was like $5. And they'd
Oh
like
my
stick
gosh.
it in the poo to like see if someone would clean it.
Here's some poo money for you.
I thought it was really funny. I was like, that's
That is
hilarious.
clever.
They're like, I will pay you to clean this up so we don't step in it. But it was like right in the middle of the bike trail and like
Ew,
giant
gross.
poo. I thought it
Ew.
was hilarious that somebody started just like putting money in.
That is funny. I wonder
I
if
was like, I
anybody
mean,
ever
if it's a
cleaned it up.
20, I'll probably take it and just hose it
Yeah.
down real good, you
Yeah.
know? Take it to the
Put it
bank
through
and
the
be like, wash
laundry.
your hands after you touch this, you know?
This is my freshly laundered money.
Right, exactly. You know?
Goodness
People are
gracious.
funny. All right. So, good. So what would you say, like voice wise, would be most helpful to work on today? Since you have had kind of a break, it could be honestly
Yeah.
anything. Do you want to, I was thinking for the podcast, like, you could help with the other one too. Like you could do like the intro, outro, you could do ads for
Sure.
him. Um, you could also just do like quotes and stuff. Like you could be like, oh, I
Mhm.
could read like a quote that goes with whatever the lesson is for that day from like, brilliant motivational business people or whoever. Um, and you could record like the opening that's like, welcome to this podcast where we talk about da 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 da. Da. Here's your host, da 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 da. And like do a little intro. If you're not sure like what to do, you could maybe do like an AI, like what are some examples of good podcast intros and then like revamp
Okay.
it a little bit just to like if you're like I don't even know where to start, you could
Right.
maybe I wouldn't use exactly what they do because it's very like artificial sounding usually in my experience. But
Yes.
just like it can kind of get you started at least and then you can rewrite it and be like, "Oh, okay, I could like rewrite this way." Um and then like see if you could do like the intro, the outro, the opening, closing. And then you could also read like inspirational quotes or something to go with
Yeah.
it. And that way, like it's small chunks too, so it really wouldn't be like big heavy lifting for you. And like the opening and closing can just be reused every time.
Mhm.
Like a thanks for listening. We hope to see you again next week, kind of thing.
Right.
Be sure to subscribe and share with your friends, kind of stuff.
Join us on
Um,
Patreon.
exactly. Yeah. So you can be that person. And then and he can just like give you credit as well in there and like you can share it and be like, here's something I'm doing. And then when he starts getting sponsors and stuff, then he could even like pay you a little bit to do it. So I
Okay.
would see if you can, because the thing is volunteer jobs can turn into paid jobs. Like I had volunteered like I don't know, like
Oh,
5 years
sorry.
ago to help it's okay, somebody with like an indie film project. And
Uh-huh.
then they recently contacted me. They're gonna pay me five sorry, not for they want me to do like they said it'll take a maximum of 5 days. And they're gonna pay me like $2,000 for this one project. And it's like a
Oh,
pretty
wow.
long one, but it's only like certain hours because they both have full-time jobs, but it's like a passion project of theirs. But they're gonna pay me 2 grand for like one project. And I was
That's
like,
awesome.
sweet. Like, and it's just
Yeah.
friends, that I helped back in the day that are like, hey, like we want to work with you again. Um, so yeah, I mean, like I would just, get credit for it and volunteer to do that and just do like small things for him. Um, and maybe just like ask him what the theme is each week. And then you can just find like a cool quote that goes with that and just record it and send it to him. And he could use it each
Okay.
week and have like the opening, closing can be the same, but then you could just like send a new inspirational quote each week or something.
Hmm.
And then you can, be doing that. And it's like short, sweet, like pretty simple, but you can be part of it. And then the grievances podcast, I think, is a great idea. And I would just like start by sharing on like Facebook, like, hey, like, I'm working on a project. I'd love to hear like just your complaints, like grievances. You can comment here, you can like send me a text or like, send me a direct message or here's my email and just like make it easy for people to reach out to you and like collect those and maybe start doing like a once a month. And it doesn't even have to be long. It could be like a 10-minute podcast. And you could do
Yeah.
like one story at a time. And you can even take like a small grievance and then expand it, be like,
Right.
embellish on it or something,
Yeah.
like make it more fun and expressive. Um, and do the same thing for yours with like an opening, closing you always use. And then, I mean, you could do fun quotes that go with it, but I don't think you have to. And then you can like change the storytelling part each time. So yeah,
Okay.
cool.
Awesome.
Love it. So then voiceover wise, for the
Yes.
books, where are you at with those at this point?
Um, I am working on doing the editing for your book, and then
Oh, great.
for the other one, I'm just waiting on some feedback so I can keep moving forward. Like I don't want
Okay.
to keep recording until I know that
You're on track. Yeah,
yes.
I get that. Yeah, because mine was more like straightforward, just read it. It's just
Right, right.
informational. So it's like very basic narration. And I
Yeah,
know that right now it feels like the editing takes forever, but
right.
you are going to get better at it and you're going to get faster at it. That's something that I realized I had done at one point when a student, I was like, here, I'll just kind of show you. And I like was bopping around and they were like, oh my gosh, you're so fast. I cannot keep up. And I was like, oh, I am. And I was
Right.
like, oh,
Oh,
I am. And so that was a ways back at this point, but I was like, oh, thank you. I was like,
yay.
I'll slow down now. But the
Yeah,
thing is, you will get faster at it and it'll start to be kind of second nature and you'll just sort of like go through the motions of doing it and you'll
right.
like, oh, tweaking it. Like it'll become easier. But I know right now it probably feels very labored because you have to really think about what you're doing at this point. That won't
Yes,
be forever. The more you do, the easier it's going to get. So, um,
yes. And I
yeah,
don't know,
that's great
like,
to hear though that you're in that stage now. You're like, I'm just editing and then
yeah,
I'll be good to go. That's awesome.
I
Um,
know.
yeah, and the other I totally understand. So I would just try to reach out to her, like, don't pester her per se, but
Yeah,
just like check in, like, every few days, be like, hey, just checking in. I'm sure with the holidays, you've got other stuff going on, but if you want to maybe like take a listen to some of what I've recorded and give me some feedback, and then I can, dive back in, but I'm just gonna like pause for a second. So it sounds like you're actually like in a good space, um, where you have kind of some flexibility because that project is kind of like a long,
Right.
like
Right.
a marathon, not a sprint. And then,
Yes.
um, and I think that's nice because you have so many characters in it too.
Yes.
Except that when I have a lot of characters and it's hard to keep track, I kind of like to just sit down
Yeah.
and plow through so I don't forget what I'm
Exactly.
doing.
I did make like a file for
Oh,
that has
good.
each character in it. So I was
Yeah,
like, okay.
that's great.
Uh,
You can
and I
reference that.
also
Yeah.
really had to like get past certain like mental roadblocks
Yeah.
where I was like, I feel like that sounds so stupid, but that's just my brain feeling like it sounds
Yeah.
stupid. I'm like, it is definitely different. It like, the girl's
Yeah.
dad. I was like, it definitely sounds like a man, or you would interpret it as a man. It
Yeah.
sounds like somebody who's older. It sounds like whatever. And it is
Hmm.
you can differentiate it from every single other character. So it's not bad. It's just
Right.
not, it was just kind of
You
one of
don't
those
sound
weird.
like a real man and you don't like that. Yeah.
Right.
Like you're picky. You're expecting more of yourself than is like reasonable or practical at this time.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Also, I
have
think that
another
because,
student who had done a workshop and they were like,
yeah.
don't do narration. And she was like, why? And
Oh,
they were like, you're just way too much of a perfectionist. And then
okay.
like now I am coaching her. It was like one of those workshops that's like a big like
Yes.
block thing. And they were like,
Yeah.
focus on commercials and like characters. And they just were like narration, the projects are too big. And like I was like, you can still do small projects. You can do like children's books and like short little how-to
Right.
pamphlets and things. Um, but I was like, honestly, I think you can do it. You just have to let yourself off the hook. And I was like, if you put some like rules in place, it'll help. Cause I was like that too. So I'll give myself like a maximum amount of time I'll work on something.
Hmm.
Because I could spend all day on one audition, like 6 hours.
Right.
And I was like, this is ridiculous. So
Yeah.
now, like, if it's from an agent, I'm like, I'm going to give it like a maximum of like an hour to an hour and a half to do that
Mhm.
audition. If it's not, if it's like through a website, I'm like 15 minutes. That's all they get. And
Yeah.
I'm done. I'm like, you're not getting more time than that. Um, if it's a project, I say, okay, I'm gonna read it once silently, and then I'll read it like out loud 3 times to practice, and then I will record it. And if it's
Okay.
narration, it's like I record it once and then I fix any flub ups and that's it. But if it's like a
Yeah.
commercial, I'll record it a few different ways and like give them options. Um, or like a character, I'll, practice it a few times and then record it and maybe I'll like record it a couple different ways, but I limit the amount of time. I'll go like, okay, for a commercial, I am not spending more than 15 minutes on it. It doesn't need that.
Right.
It just
Right.
doesn't. Um, I mean, unless I'm like in a studio with the director, I'm like, they'll email me back and I'll fix whatever. Um, so it's like I spend 15 minutes on it. I try a few things and I send it to him. And I'm like, okay, tell me, is it good? Is it what you want? Do you want to change? But I'm not going to sit there and like slave over it, especially if I'm not 100%
Right.
sure what they want. And then narration is just too long. So I'm like, I read through silently once. I probably read through like out loud once. Then I record it and then I do any fixes and that's it. And then I send it in and then if they have feedback and things they want me to change, I'll do it. But I had to start limiting myself because I would just waste so much time and be way too picky. And then even with editing, I would say for shorter things like a commercial or characters, I'll spend more time. For narration, again, it's just so long. I'm not going to
Right.
sit there and make it perfect. There's just no way. So
Right.
I let it be slightly imperfect. Like I still polish it up, but I'm like, if you want it to be perfect, you're going to hire an audio engineer. And if not, then this is what you get.
Right.
So I just kind of like, I'm like, I have a limit and I'm like, yes, every breath isn't entirely gone. Yes, there might be a few saliva clicks that are still in there that the plugin didn't process out.
Right.
Oh, well, I'm not going to manually go through and
Yeah.
fix every single one. Like, no, I don't have time for that. So,
Is there a plugin for removing breath sounds?
so what I would recommend, are you using Audacity?
Yeah.
Yeah. What I would recommend is highlight a breath and then
Okay.
so first do regular noise reduction, like highlight a silent moment and then have it analyze the room noise and remove that.
Hmm.
Then find a breath, highlight that, do the analysis of noise reduction again, and then apply noise reduction to the whole thing. And it's going to minimize those breaths and only the breaths because it'll
Okay.
recognize that sound and be like, that
Okay.
sound is what I'm isolating and taking out.
Because that's like obviously the biggest
Yeah.
thing.
So that's what I would recommend is do noise
Right.
reduction two different ways. One to remove noise reduction and then highlight just a breath, analyze
Okay.
it, and then apply it to the whole thing. And it should it might not remove entirely, but it'll minimize them, which is really what we need. I feel like it sounds kind of artificial if we entirely take out the breaths. Like it starts to
Okay.
feel like too clean and not human
Yeah.
anymore. And we don't want
Okay.
to hear like a robot. We want to hear a real person. But we also don't want
Right.
like gaspy
Yes.
sounds unless it's expressive, like a
That's a
purposeful,
little bit.
like,
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Right.
um, but yeah, so that's what I would recommend is just like analyze it and then tell it to remove it, and then hopefully it
Okay.
will. And they
Okay.
actually have a click removal in like a separate effect
The click
in there.
removal I am very familiar with.
Yeah, because
Yeah. I get a lot of
um,
clicky.
my student Charlie, he's like, I keep forgetting to try the green apple trick because that's like a
Oh.
thing people advise is like have some
Hmm.
green apples and like eat some green apple and then it helps with that. I personally
Right.
am like, I don't know that that really helps me that much. I just do my best and I stay
Yes.
hydrated.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Like there's only so much hydration a person can have.
I know I like drink so much water. My husband was joking because our puppy like loves water and drinks so much water and then has to pee all the time. And he also
Hmm.
just loves to play in water and stuff. And he was like, he's just like you. So
Aw.
constantly like chugging water and going to the bathroom. I was like, fair.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much. Seems like me.
And I think he's like starting to think he's human because he'll like yesterday, he insisted. I was like trying to read a book in bed, like take a little break. And he just insisted, like he jumped up and was like, I will not get off the bed. I pushed him off 5 times and he just like was like, I will lay here with you, mom. And like
I
pushed himself to
belong
my
here.
body. I was like, okay. And then I got up to do something in the kitchen later when I was like sitting on the couch. I got up and he went and like sat in my spot. And I was like,
Aw.
you're trying to be human, I think. He- So it's
Like
cute.
what? Yes.
But he's very smart. If he's thirsty, he'll like go stand by the sink and be like,
Oh,
Mom,
wow.
water, get water.
That is smart.
Yeah, he's
Meanwhile, one
cute.
of my giant dogs is afraid to walk past a planter because it might grow legs and eat him or something.
Wow, that's
He's,
funny.
we joke about how brave he is now because it took
Oh.
7 years, but he will now walk backwards. And or 8, well, yeah, he's just started doing that last year. So he's 8 now.
Oh,
And he will now walk past a broom.
nice.
It's bizarre. I have these huge dogs that like I can put a broom in the doorway, like just cross it, and they're like, okay, well, I can't go in there.
Wow.
You know,
That's
you could step over
amazing.
it, right?
That's funny. My
It
little
is.
dog Daisy, she was terrified of everything when I first got her. I don't know what her life was like before I got her.
Oh,
But I know she lived on this really big farm, and that's why
yeah.
they rehomed her. Like they were like, we're scared for her. Like we lose her, we can't see her. She's like six and a half.
Aw,
She was only like 3 pounds
she's
then.
teeny
Like
tiny.
yeah, she's only like 6 pounds now, but they just were like, We need a new home. They're too small." And then I got there and they were like, "Can you take Scotty too?" And I was like, "Oh, I have two now."
Oh, fun.
Yeah, so Scotty's like 8 pounds. He's a poodle. But he was brave. Like he was like, "I am my sister's protector." Like they're just like a bonded
Oh,
pair. And he just was
poor
like, "I
thing.
will protect Daisy," and she would like cower and shake her little body.
Oh,
So
poor little
she's
girl.
much more brave now, but it's taken a lot of work. They're
Takes a
almost
while.
7. Yeah.
It takes a while. Yes. You're like, oh, good for you.
Like a car
God.
drives by and she's like, "Mom, alert, alert." And I'm like, "It's okay, baby. It's gonna be okay." She's like,
And
but a truck rumbled by.
I know. How dare it?
Yeah. Or she hears another dog bark, and she's like, Mom. Or like something boils on the stove, and she's like, we're gonna die. And I'm like, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay, honey.
Butterfly that flapped by. Cool,
Yeah,
dude. You're
she's
120
so
pounds.
quiet. And
Let's
then
just,
she'll yip. Oh, that's
yeah.
so funny that they're like so big and they're scared.
I know.
My
There's one
puppy
that's not
is
afraid of anything, but
40 pounds already at 4 months,
aw.
and he like we'll be walking and a car will drive by and he'll like shy away and like
Aw,
and like he'll like have a dog bark and he'll like jump back. And I'm like, it's
poor little
okay, then I'll
guy.
go get you. Mama's got you.
Oh, is he gonna be big?
He is. He'll be 65-ish.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's a good sized dog.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a polar bear, but a dog, basically, because he's a
Yes.
Samoyed. So we got
Oh,
him from a
okay.
family that do dog sled racing competitively. The dad and son do it. So it's like
Oh,
a
that's
family thing.
awesome.
Yeah. They've got like 20 dogs. They took us walking around, and it was like an accidental litter, and they had like 13 puppies, so many.
Holy
And it was
Moses.
the dad's lead sled dog got pregnant, and it was like an accident kind of, and he was like, "Well, I guess I got to cancel these couple races."
Aw,
But he was like, I mean, he'll be a good, strong dog.
yes. That's
So,
why he's so smart. He's a sled dog. Holy moly.
yeah, his dad's like their family retired dog that's like sweet and mellow. And then the mom is like his fierce leader sled dog
Yes.
lady. So I was like, he's good. He's good stock. He's a good one. So,
Yes.
but he's smart. He's sweet. He's playful. So he's a good
That's
one.
good. Those are
Yeah.
all good things.
So my book,
Okay.
you're golden
Yes.
on.
Okay.
The Australia Voices, we've worked on that
Mm.
book quite a bit with those characters, developing them, and I thought they were sounding really good. So
I think I'm doing
hopefully,
good.
yeah, hopefully the author is going to be pleased and is like, green light,
Yes.
go for it. So then you've got the podcast. I don't think those will be like crazy demanding or challenging from you. I think the biggest is going to be like
No.
planning the grievances podcast.
Yeah.
Um, like in organizing that for yourself. But I would just have kind of a format you follow and just like a schedule you follow and then stick with that and make it consistent. And I would recommend kind of planning out a few like a handful of episodes before you even release the first one. Like get a
Okay.
few prepared so that you're not like, oh, I put one out and I don't have anything yet. Like have a few to give yourself a
Right.
little buffer. Um, so like make like five of them first and then start releasing them. And then have a consistent schedule with that because that's where you're gonna like at first it'll be a slow following, a slow build.
Right.
But
Right.
that consistency is really gonna help. And just like share it every single time you release it and even like send it to me because I'll share the link for you too and like tell
Okay.
people about it. Um, so I would definitely like plan that ahead, get it going. So I don't know. It's like, do you feel like you want to focus on that more right
Um,
now, or are you wanting to do more projects?
I think that like probably focusing on that podcast might be a little easier for me just
Yeah.
because
Hmm.
it's less work.
Yeah.
Or less, there's some planning, but then ultimately it just comes down to like banter, which is
Hmm.
fine.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, and if
yeah.
you want to make it easier on yourself, you can just do like an interview too.
Right. Like I told my brother, I was like, if I just do it with you, we can just sit there and talk about whatever.
Hmm.
I mean, we can have like, this is what we're going to do for this one.
Hmm.
And of course, it's going to lead into other things. We could have a guest each week that is, one of our friends who's just there to
Yeah.
talk about that particular thing. So then we're
Right.
having like a whole circle of whatever, but you and I are the ones that are there all the time.
Yeah.
Uh,
So like maybe you and he could switch off like sharing a grievance each time and then you
yeah.
also have a guest. Could be fun. And if you can't get a guest for that week, like you just both share one. Um
Right.
and I would recommend kind of steering away from things that could possibly be offensive and just stick with things that are very
Right.
relatable and universal.
I'm like,
Just so you don't
politics and
alienate
religion
anyone.
are gonna be
Just
not
don't
on the
mess with
list.
them. Yeah. Yeah, like I feel like sex, politics, and religion, just if you leave those off the table, like it
Right.
just you won't alienate anyone, which I feel
Right.
like is good when you're starting out. Um, like later on, you could probably kind of fine tune a little bit more your focus, but right now I'd probably do just kind of like general, like relatable, funny things. Um, and with that, I feel like you're going to be really strengthening the storytelling aspects
Hmm.
and also that like conversational feel and kind of like the hosting kind of a sound, which then when you're auditioning for things, like you'll be able to say like I have experience in those areas, which is really helpful. So, um, because you don't really have anything like that yet.
Right.
This is also considered new media, so I would definitely distribute it in like the podcast platforms, podcast stores. But then I also probably would put it on YouTube. Like even if you don't do like a video podcast version, like where you're recording in a studio where you can like set up a camera at the same time, I would recommend like at least putting the audio on YouTube as well. Like you can just put
Okay.
like a picture of like you two
Yeah.
like, hi, welcome to our podcast, and like put your name of your podcast and like your names below, and then just like put like the date of the release and the title of the podcast, and just like you can like really easily do that in like free video editing softwares like iMovie or like, Microsoft has their own free movie editors like Windows Video, wait, video editor. I think it's like something
Okay.
really basic like that. Um, so you can find like even Video Shop, like it'll put a tiny little logo if you do the free version, but it's only like $8 or something if you download it and pay to remove the logo and you can use it forever.
Okay.
Um, but you can find like free video editing software. And if you just have like a photo thing you put as a standard, and then you put like the title of the podcast, the name of that episode, and your names below, and just like use that picture on all of them, I think you
Hmm.
can just like put the audio on that. Because a ton of people do YouTube. Like my husband, I feel like watches YouTube more than TV.
Yeah.
Which I find odd, but that's just me.
Same.
But like I know so many men who pay for YouTube with no ads and like watch stuff on YouTube all the time. So I
Okay.
feel like I feel like YouTube would be another good place to put it on. And then just share it a ton. Like
Okay.
every time you do it, share it to all your socials, any and all. Um, and hopefully all your friends start listening and think it's
Yay.
fun and then share it with
I
their
know,
friends.
right?
Um, so I do think that's going to take, it's going to be a commitment to do that. Um, but also it sounds like it'll be fun because you're doing it with people you enjoy, which
Right.
is really nice.
And
Um,
that part would also come down to like I wouldn't have to edit that. Somebody else, like he can do it.
yeah,
So,
nice.
yes, then it is
Ooh.
just fun.
That is awesome. I love
Yeah.
that. So you can kind of like plan out the episodes maybe, and then he does all the
Right.
editing. So you just share responsibilities and you do
Yes.
like the things you're strong at. He does the things he's strong at. I love that.
Right.
Having
Yeah,
partners is helpful.
it
Um,
is.
so yeah, focusing there. And then if you kind of were thinking about if you're wanting to do new media stuff, I mean, you can be auditioning for that too.
Okay.
Um, or even like as you're doing the podcast, you could like make a Fiverr and be like, hey, like I am the host of this podcast. I also have worked on this other podcast. Um, and here are some samples of what I sound like. If you need like any, podcasting or new media recordings, hire me. So
Right.
I would maybe use that as a marketing tool as well to put yourself out there a little bit more and then start doing some recording for other people's podcasts, like their intro, outro commercials that they need read for their podcast, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Um, so you kind of branch into that new media world.
Yeah. Have you ever used like a virtual assistant for any of that kind of stuff?
I personally
Like a real
haven't, but
person, but
yeah, I know other people who have. And you can find like pretty skilled people because if they live in different parts of the world, like our money has
right.
different values. So I think there's a lady I think she lives in Australia who has like a whole troop of people who are like trained to be marketing assistants and you only have to pay like $9 an hour for that. Um,
Okay.
or like you can just get on like Fiverr and hire somebody like
Yeah.
to help you with things. Um, if you know, but you can find assistants like pretty inexpensively. I know they have like AI ones, but you can get people even.
Yeah.
And I
I'd
feel
rather
like
pay for
hiring them for like a couple hours a week that's like a real person is probably a better
Yeah.
investment. But I know people who've done that, like people with startup companies or like who are self-employed and
Yeah.
really like it works well for them. So,
Yeah. Because
yeah.
part of my roadblock is the perfectionism. Like I
Mhm.
want it to be perfect. So I'm like, if I have somebody
Yeah.
else do it, I can just be like, take that, make it work,
Right.
make it clean, make it, kind of.
Yeah. Like push the editing off on someone else. I mean, I know a lot of audio engineers and stuff. So if you just want like some contacts of people that do that kind of stuff all the time and that's like their,
Mhm.
bread and butter work, I can give you some contacts. But you also could just like find somebody on like a freelance website or like a, assistant kind of person or I mean, if you really want to, I can do it. I really don't mind
Okay.
editing at this point. I used to hate it, and at this point I'm like, eh. Like
Yeah.
honestly, the more you do it, the faster you'll get, and the more it's just like click,
Right.
click, 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 and you just like listen, and you're like do 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 do. Like I feel like at this point it's pretty like just by rote for me.
Yeah.
Um, but also like if you wanted to do the editing yourself and just like
Right.
send it to me, I'll check it for you. And I'll like
Okay.
tell you like if there's a spot that I'm like this spot really needs a little bit more, but like these spots are fine. Um,
Right.
But honestly, like I'd recommend just kind of letting yourself off the hook. I know people who are
Yeah.
very meticulous about it, but it's like the
Yeah.
difference in it being perfect and being like 85% there could be
Right.
hours. And I'm
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
I mean, if it's
Yeah.
like 80% of the way there, I'm like, it's fine.
It's good enough.
When it's like a big project, like
Right.
if you're doing like an hour long or half hour long podcast and you're doing that every single week and you're planning out the scripts and like, doing the recording and editing it yourself, the difference can be like several hours. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
doing that meticulous of editing, I'm just like, I don't know that it's worth the time. I'm not
Yeah.
listening to podcasts being like, oh my gosh, their quality sounds horrible. Like you have good
Right.
enough equipment, like you're fine. Um, yeah, so I don't think that's an issue.
Got it.
So I would recommend letting yourself off the hook a little bit with that. So
Okay.
ask
All right.
yourself, like, do I feel like it's like 80% of the way there? And if it
Right.
is, then
Right.
just be like, okay, I'm done.
Okay. What about with like social media stuff?
Oh yeah, I honestly,
'Cause I'm not good at like
you can maybe
not good at
start
that.
by just like
Yeah.
sharing every time you make a podcast and put it out there, just on the
Right.
day it releases, just post it and be like, hey,
Okay.
our next episode came out. Check it out,
Yay.
you know?
Yeah.
And I would just put it on your stuff for now. Um, maybe after you get the ball rolling a little bit more, you could actually
Right.
make like I would pick one platform that you're committed to, and then whatever you
Okay.
do, be consistent. Tuesday is the day when people they see posts, like view posts the most. Um,
Okay.
so if you want to maybe just commit to every single Tuesday, I'm
Hmm.
going to make a post. You can actually pre-plan and schedule those out. Um, Hootsuite, I think, was like the first one that did that, but it's kind of expensive and you
Yeah.
can use free versions or like cheaper versions of the same thing. So I
Okay.
think there are actual free versions that are a similar thing where you plan out your social media posts and it just like you do it from there. And if you use one of those, you can actually do it to all social media platforms at the same time, the same post.
Okay.
Um, but what I tend to do is I only post to Instagram and then I have it linked to a Facebook professional page as well. So
Okay.
then like it posts to Instagram and it automatically posts to Facebook at the same time. And so I
Okay.
just dedicate like I have an actual Instagram that I like log in and do. I am not as like consistent as I should be,
Right.
But ideally, you have like a consistent schedule. Like every single Tuesday at 9 a.m., I hop on and do a live stream for 5 minutes and I just like chat with people about what I'm working on. And then I do like one post every Tuesday at noon, and that's what you do, you know? And then
Okay.
it's like, it's very consistent and people get used to that, is
Got
the
it.
idea.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you
Yeah.
can even with your social media, like do interviews with people live on there and stuff, or invite, like, be like, once a month, we're going to have like a live grievances thing and like invite people to come and like complain basically on your live
Okay.
stream. Those kind of things too. So, I feel like starting out, you're going to have a lot of like heavy lifting just getting the podcast going. So,
Right.
just like on the day it releases, you could just do it to your stuff. But, if you want to, just make a page that you're committed to.
Hmm.
And it's like, that's the page you use. If you're like, I don't want to figure out how to make an artist page on Facebook, then you can just do the Instagram. But if you want, you can do the link thing where it just automatically shares. So it's kind of up
Okay.
to you there. Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty.
So I would just kind of, you can even like use AI, like go to Chat GPT and be like, can you give me like a social media, Instagram post schedule, doing one post every week, like for a podcast about da da da. And then it's gonna just like spit out a schedule for you, like a
Okay.
possible schedule. And you could just like follow that, like take a Saturday, make all of your posts, like plan everything out, schedule them in one of those like automated schedulers, and it's just set for like 3 months,
Oh,
you know?
okay. Awesome.
Yeah. So I would probably do something like that if you like are
Okay.
wanting to be really like consistent with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So hopefully that's
Perfect.
helpful. Let me know
Yes.
if you need anything or if you have anything you want me
Okay.
to listen to, or if you're
Okay.
like, hey, is this editing enough? Like, just let me know,
Yeah.
okay?
Okay. I will.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. And I'm excited to hear what you did with the book.
Yay.
Yay.
Okay.
Alrighty, well,
That's a lot
awesome
of big work.
work. I think you're on
Thank you.
track. This was a little bit different because it was more to like brainstorming and more the business side of things. But
Right.
I mean, I think you're in a great spot. I'm really sorry you're going through a hard time, but you're doing good stuff. So just keep at it.
Thank you, Vandy. Have a good week.
Welcome. You too. And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
I hope that 2025 is better than 2024 was for you.
Agreed. Thank you. Thank you.
Alrighty. Well, we'll plan a time like a month out. Is that right
Yep.
ish?
Yeah, that works.
So looking ahead, like end of January, like the 27th, maybe?
Yeah, that should work.
You want to do let's do 12:15 maybe?
Yeah, that'll work.
Perfect.
Put you
Sehr
down.
gut. Awesome. I don't know why it thinks I'm in Phoenix, but that's okay.
Oh.
That's not right. All right, awesome. So I will see you then. I'm excited to hear
Okay.
how everything's going. And
Perfect.
hey, when you
Thank
get
you.
your
Yeah,
podcast up and running, send it to me. I want to listen.
I will. I
I'll
will.
be your
All right.
subscriber. I'll be your first one if you want.
Yay! I can't wait.
Alrighty. I love podcasts actually, so
Oh, perfect. That works.
I'm in. I'm sold on it. Alrighty. Well,
Awesome.
thank you, Christy. Have a
Thanks,
great
Sandy.
month. Happy New Year, and I'll see you
Happy New
soon. It'll
Year.
fly
Yeah,
by, I'm sure.
it will. All right.
Bye.
See ya.